What is going on YouTube? This is Will, and as you can see, I have another anime figure unboxing for you guys. Kotobukiya was so kind enough to send me these figures for review. I have a Filo from the Rising of a Shield Hero, her 1/7 scale. I have Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, his 1/8 scale. And then I have Aria, the Angel of Crystals. This is a original character by Kotobukiya and the first in a new figure series that they're going to be doing. This is her 1/7 scale. Now, before I get to opening all of these guys, quick disclaimer, Kotobukiya did send these to me for free, but they are not paying for this review. They have no inputs on the review. They're going to see it at the same time that you guys do. And they pretty much told me to be honest and give them feedback as to what I think of these figures. So I'm not gonna hold anything back, but yep, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so starting with our lovely Filo here. Again, this is a 1/7 scale. She goes for 15,000 yen, which is roughly 115 USD at the time of this video. Here is her box. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy about it. So yeah, we'll get that out of the way. So she comes out of the box just like this. You don't have to put anything together. So I appreciate that. I definitely prefer that with some of my figures. And I've just been looking at her for a few minutes now, trying to get my thoughts together. And overall, I think this figure is definitely pretty adorable. So just her overall pose, I definitely love. I'm a sucker for some of these dynamic poses that these characters do. And seeing her jump off of this rock just looks really good, and very natural pose that she's in for someone kind of lunging off of a rock. And then speaking of the rock itself, the base, it's not like the best base I've ever seen, but it's not terrible either. I mean, the paint job and the material sculpt and whatnot, it's okay. It does the job. When I'm looking at this figure, I'm not necessarily focused on the base. I see it there, but it's of course not the main attention here. And it does its job for, you know, the kind of the pose that she's in. So not the best, but it does work. And then looking at her dress, I think her dress is so adorable. I can't remember what she was wearing in the anime, if this is what she was wearing, but regardless, I absolutely love this. The paint job is very well done. Sculpt, the shading, all A1. Can't see any flaws with the paint job. Very clean, so definitely appreciate that. She is wearing some kind of grandma panties down there, which is fine for the Filo character. Didn't want to expect too much out of that. And then her face. So I absolutely love her face. It looks just like her, but she has this lovely little grin on her face where she's being both playful and aggressive at the same time. I just think it's really cute. And then moving into her hair. So I kind of have mixed feelings about her hair. So her sculpt, I think, is very well done. You can see a lot of different strands in there, and I can't really see any issues with it at all. I see maybe a little bit of a sanding issue in like one of the deep crevices there, but I had to look very closely to see that. So hair, very well done. Now the paint job. So they do use kind of this glossy paint on her hair, so it just gives it a little bit of a shine. And at first I thought I didn't like it, but the more I look at it, especially, you know, holding out from a distance, the more I do like it. I mean, it might have been better as a matte, but I'm liking the sheen that I'm seeing with this glossy paint. It just kind of fits the figure the more I look at it. So some people might prefer a matte finish, but for me, the glossy finish is not that big of a negative either. It definitely works for me. And then we have her feathers, her wings rather. They look pretty good, nothing too crazy there. You really can't notice them too much just because there's so much hair, but you know, you kind of see that left wing a little bit. So looks pretty good. And overall, I mean, again, I'm not like the biggest fan of this anime, not necessarily one I would go out and get a figure for, but I would say she is pretty freaking adorable. I'm looking at some of her other figures on my figure collection. I would say this is probably the one I would get if I were a fan of this anime. She just looks really good. So if I were to get this like a rating, it would probably be like an A-. Like it's good. Like I said, I might want to see it with the matte color in her hair, but that's really it. And the base is kind of basic, kind of brings down the point a little bit. But overall, a pretty decent figure for Filo. So good job, Kotobukiya. So the next figure that I have here is going to be my man, my spirit animal from Jujutsu Kaisen. It's going to be Nanami Kento, aka Salary Man Sama. This is his 1/8 scale figure. It goes for 11,000 yen, which is roughly $90 USD. So not too bad for a 1/8 scale. He's actually pretty big. And here we have his box. Nothing too crazy here either. Get that out the way. And there's very little you gotta do to put them together. You just gotta slap him onto his base and then slide his actual, weapon into his hand, and you're done. So starting with his base, let me talk about that first. So for one thing, it looks good. I love how it doesn't take up that much space just based on his overall pose. But getting him into his base itself was a pain in the butt because you definitely gotta spread his legs apart. Might sound a little wrong, but you gotta spread his legs apart to get his feet into both of the pegs. It just takes a little bit of force and a little bit of effort. And I remember having that same similar issue with my Megumi RTFX figure that I have, where it was kind of hard to get him into the base as well. But once he's in the base, he's in there. He's very secure. I'm probably never gonna be able to pull this out. But yeah, it is what it is. I like the base overall because it's very small and doesn't really take up that much space. So I appreciate that. And then his overall pose. So I did say I'm a sucker for dynamic poses, but this is just Nanami. He's just too cool to be that dynamic, right? Unless he's really getting serious. And here we have him taking off his tie, knowing he's about to get serious for a fight and go into overtime. So absolutely love his pose. It does enough for me. I'm a big Nanami stan, so definitely a husbando for me. So yeah, definitely liking that a lot. And then looking at his paint job on his suit, the sculpt, all very well done, very cleanly done. I love the creases all around. It's very natural looking suit that he has on. Even the kind of like cuffs that he has on the bottom of his pants are very well done. His shoes, I feel like maybe could have used just a little bit more detail, but not too bad either. Good paint job there as well. A little bit of a gradient, I believe, maybe on his shoes, but shoes also look pretty good. You got his tie, his shirt, all look great as well. And then his face looks terrific. It looks just like Nanami. They did a really good job on the glasses and his look on his eyes. You can actually see through his lenses very well, very easily. Looks great. He has a really good look. Nice little a smirk on his face. And then get into his hair. Very nice job with the sculpt job. I don't remember his hair being like this dark. Maybe it could have been a little bit lighter actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at some pictures right now. Maybe a little bit lighter on the hair color. This is kind of a little bit too green, I think, but honestly, I'm not gonna complain too much about that as well. And then we have his weapon here. Goes into his hand very easily. You just kind of take apart his weapon at the handle. Pretty basic stuff when it comes to figures, right? So it goes like that. You just kind of slide into his hand like that. And that's it. So yeah, his weapon looks good. Nothing too crazy about it. It's not very hard to do his weapon. But overall, I definitely like this figure. I'm just a Nanami fan. I would have got this figure regardless if Kotobukiya sent it to me. So definitely, if you're into Jujutsu Kaisen, if you like Nanami like I do, for $90, this is definitely a no-brainer. And he's a big boy. I mean, here's Filo 1/7 scale right next to him. And you can see how big he is on such a very thin base as well. So he's definitely a pretty good value, I would say, for a 1/8 scale for just $90. So if I were to give this figure a rating, it'd be a solid A. Probably take off a point for his hair color. I just think it could have been a little bit more on the blonde side, but I'm not gonna really complain too much about it. He still looks pretty good. So good job, Kotobukiya. So the last figure that we have here is going to be Aria, the Angels of Crystals. This is the 1/7 scale and an original character by Kotobukiya. So this is their first in a new lineup called Museum of Mystical Melodies. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box. You can see it's very shiny under these lights. It's very glittery. Hope you guys can actually see it, but very big box. Looks pretty good. Just drop that down there. So this figure you do have to put together. So we have her base right here, crystal base. And then we have a couple of wings that we have to attach and a small little halo that goes on top of her head. So let's see. Let's actually look at the figure itself before we put it together. And I've been looking at it already for the past couple minutes now, and I have some thoughts. And the first word that comes to mind when I see this figure is scandalous. And I'm like, dang, Kotobukiya, I can't believe you guys designed a character like this. Maybe I just don't know Kotobukiya's history that well. I did go and look at a bunch of their figures over the past couple years, and this one is absolutely scandalous. So first of all, I mean, we just turn around, like that dong and that ass is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you can see things. They went into some detail down there in certain regions. And then her dress, whew, that dress is something. I really like the dress. So it's, I mean, the design of the dress is great, but the overall paint job, I like how they gave it kind of a sheen to it, so glossy paint. So I'm definitely feeling that quite a bit. You can see kind of laying there on top of this little crystal here. And then we have her, what, I guess thigh-high boots is what you want to call them. Look pretty good. It's not quite the same color as her dress, but I still think it looks pretty good, pretty well done paint job here. Can't really complain too much about it. But yeah, her overall outfit is terrific. And then we have that gold trim around the collar of her dress, her boots, the hair pieces that she have, all look absolutely terrific. So her overall outfit, I'm loving. And then looking at her face, so I think she is a pretty cute character. She is like a little elf. She has some pointy ears, but the overall sculpt of the face looks terrific. Really good job with the nose, the mouth, the teeth. All of it looks great. And then her hair looks terrific. I just love how it's flowing. And when it's like closer to her head, it's kind of like, say, opaque color, but as it kind of flows out, you can see it kind of getting more translucent, and at the very tips it's completely translucent and clear, whereas it's kind of blue, as you can see, towards the base. And then looking at the top of her head, it's pretty well done in terms of like the attachments of each strand to her head, but it probably won't be noticeable once I actually put on the halo. So I don't really have any other comments about the figure itself. I think she looks absolutely terrific. I love her pose that she's gonna be on, leaning on that crystal, and yeah, I mean that ass, I just can't say enough about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and put it all together and see how it all comes together. All right, so here we have her all put together, and she was pretty straightforward to do. So just a couple of wings, you attach her to her base, and then put the halo on top of her head, and that's it. It probably took me less than like 90 seconds to do all of it. The hardest part was putting her wings in there, and that's just because they go in very snugly, which I definitely appreciate because I know they're pretty secure in there. They're not gonna like fall out or anything like that. So looking at the overall figure now, I mean, just wow. I mean, Kotobukiya really did a good job on this figure. So let's go and start with the base. And I would say this is probably the weakest point of it for me. So the base, I think, looks good overall. Now, my gripe with it is that these crystals that have like the flowers on the inside of them, I feel like I would have preferred them to continue with that frosty blue coating that they have at the very center of the base up the crystal as well, so that the crystal isn't as translucent as it appears right now. So maybe like, you know, kind of gradient, maybe like a blue into like a white frosty color with the airbrush might have looked better than just kind of just straight translucent crystal that they have. That's just how I imagine crystals to be in my head. Kind of like what these crystals are at the very bottom here, which are definitely very pointy and very sharp, so be careful with those. But that's kind of how I imagine crystals to be, not completely just translucent like these are. So jumping up to like her wings now. So now that I see her with her wings, it just adds so much, and she looks so good. So the wings themselves look terrific. They kind of have that blue to purple gradient, blue coming from like, I don't know, what do you call that part of the wing? We'll just say the back of the wing, which is the spine or whatever, I don't know. Going down to like a purple where her feathers are, and it just looks good. You know, you can definitely see the different colors under the different lights. Sometimes it looks kind of completely clear, then you can kind of see the purple at the tip. So it just kind of depends on how you hold it, but overall, I think the wings look terrific, and really no complaints with like the overall sculpt job. And then we have her halo on top of her head. And this looks very well done, because what they've done is that they made the attachment point of the halo on the back of her head where it starts to slope. So the halo is kind of like pointing up, but it makes it look like it's actually floating on top of her head. So whoever did that, perfect job there, because that halo really does look like it's floating on top of her head. Is it a halo if it's a triangle? I don't even know, actually, now think about it. Whatever you might want to call this thing on top of her head, it looks great. And it just adds to the overall, you know, design of the character. Now we do have an additional base here, which is like this mirror base that you can put her on top of. And I would say it doesn't really add that much to the overall figure's footprint. It's just big enough to fit her on the base, but she's just so wide anyway, just based on her stance, her hair coming out this way and her foot kind of leaning out. It doesn't add anything to the footprint. So if you want to put her on the base and, put her on display in like your detolf, you can't do it that way. I'm not sure if I want that or not. I'm not sure what's gonna look better. I'll ask my wife to see what she thinks, but I'm thinking without the mirror base might be better. But this figure, Kotobukiya, round of applause. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what else you guys do with this new figure lineup. Did I say how much this costs? I'm not sure. This figure costs 19,500 yen, which is about $150 USD. So I would say that's a pretty good price for a original character 1/7 scale. She looks good. So, if you're into this type of character design, that's something that you like, just know that the way that they've done the figure, put it together, the actual sculpt and all that paint job looks terrific. I'm not sure if the pictures do it justice, but definitely if I were to get this figure rating, it would be like 9.5 A. Definitely a solid A, I would say. So it looks really, really good. So good job, Kotobukiya. So those are the 3 figures from this Kotobukiya haul. All of them I think are pretty terrific, but let me know down in the comments what you guys think. For me, this Aria one here definitely stands out the most. She just looks so good. I love the character design the more I look at her, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else Kotobukiya does with this lineup. And then my boy Nanami doing, Nanami things, looking extra suave here. Definitely love this figure. Really great value. I mean, look how big he is compared to these 1/7 scales. Like $90 for this guy. Definitely worth the price. And then, Filo here. Not really an anime or character I care too much about, but she's definitely super adorable and one for the price I would recommend to someone who's into this anime. So yeah, again, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Be sure to smash that like button to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.